Jeff Howe, Horns247.com here once again with my co-host on the Longhorn Blitz podcast, Rod Babers. Got to talk, unfortunately, Rod, about another Texas loss, 44-23 to Ole Miss. You were down on the sidelines. You were in the locker room doing post-game interviews for the Longhorn IMG Radio Network. What was the vibe around the team that you saw? Because the team I saw kind of went the exact way I thought it was going to go. Ole Miss got up early, Texas fought back, but at the end of the day, there wasn't enough time during the week for Greg Robinson to make the proper adjustments. Case McCoy, we saw the physical limitations come into play. The offense couldn't score enough points. So at the end of the day, Rod, what was the mentality, the mindset of this team that you saw from a game that played out the way we all kind of unfortunately thought it would?
Yeah, I think the players were very disappointed, actually. And Coach Robinson talked about it, that the effort was there. The guys had a great effort. And we saw some adjustments by those guys early on that did work in the first half. But in that second half, the adjustments made by Ole Miss, there was nothing really. That defense was able to be effective at stopping. The zone read killed them. And even Jordan Hicks said it was the same play over and over and over again. I think that was the most demoralizing thing.
No question.
They didn't try to out-scheme Texas. They just basically ran the same plays that BYU were running against Texas, and they were just as effective.
When you look at where this Texas team goes from here, and the one thing you mentioned that it's disappointment on the players' faces, and you could kind of see that in the post-game news conference. Guys just looking like they're searching for answers. They don't really know what's going on. You weren't a part of these teams at Texas where it was rough like this for rough stretches, but well, go to your NFL experience with the Detroit Lions.
Oh, thank you.
When you have a couple like this, Rod, at what point as a player do you realize it's off track?
The downward
it's
spiral.
Not coming back.
Yeah, the downward spiral. And I remember there were some times where in the Texas locker room we thought it may be going that way. In 2000, we had an early season non-conference loss. Stanford. And then we had that debacle down at the Red River Rivalry. And I remember the players-only meeting, and everybody was thinking, hey, man, this is one of the worst teams in college football. This is not an elite football team. We won our next 6 games, went 7-1 in the conference that year. So you can get a hold of it. The key is going to be leadership. And I don't know where that leadership is going to come from for this Longhorn football team in that post game. And I'm not saying that I expected certain guys to step up, but it was a quiet locker room. I didn't see a lot of frustration visibly from the guys. I didn't really see a lot of emotion in the post game after that game in the locker room. Now, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe these guys know how to internalize that. But in the times that we had losses, that we were very disappointed, you can hear that in guys in the locker room. That's a place where a sacred place, where you can express that. I didn't really see that in the locker room. So I don't know where they are in terms of their leadership, and I don't know emotionally how they're going to be able to transform this and turn it around.
You know me, I'm a guy, I like to find the middle ground. Take one end of the spectrum, the other end, and kind of find some middle ground, because that's usually where the truth lies. I think that's where the leadership comes from. I think it's Mack Brown at the top that at least gets the ship in the right direction. The players, then, Rod, they have to take the ship to port. Mack Brown has to show them, because, like we've talked about, I don't know that the players know exactly what needs to happen to get this thing right. And Mack Brown does. He's been there. He's been there for 16 years. He's seen all different sides of it. He's got to get this thing going in the right direction. But at the end of the day, the players are the ones that have to drive the ship. Because as we've always talked about, Mack Brown's best teams have been player-led teams.
Yeah, I think the discouraging thing, though, is how is that leadership, how is it not fostered in the offseason? How did we not figure out, identify who those guys were, and then build on that in the offseason? That, to me, is a little bit of troubling. But maybe it takes crisis to find those guys. And after the BYU game, I would have thought, okay, maybe there are some guys who are going to stand up, take ownership of this team, take responsibility for what's going on. And we know who those guys are. It's the Jordan Hicks. It's the Jackson Jeffcoats. It's the Quandre Diggs. It's got to be David Ash. He's in a leadership role. Jonathan Gray, maybe younger, but still in that role. But I don't know if they've taken the onus and the responsibility on their shoulders to take action and hold other guys accountable. And like you said, like I've said, you can't hold other guys accountable if you're not living up to that standard yourself. So maybe if they start playing better, they can start holding their teammates accountable.
Texas 1-2 for the first time since 1998, getting ready to start conference play, Big 12 play against the Purple Kryptonite from Manhattan in Kansas State. We'll be back on Thursday with another video preview of that game. For Rod, I'm Jeff. Stay locked into Horns247.com and catch Rod every day, 2 to 7, Sports Buffet, Sports Talk AM 1300 The Zone.